calls them forward, and we are away and racing in the Everedge Mixed Open race. Just over 3 miles and 19 obstacles ahead of them, and Vinnie Lewis going to lead them into the first of those from Mr. Love, Duke Arcadio and Write It Down, and then back to In Arrears, and the back marker at the moment is the Della Checkout. So all of them stream over the next, and still Vinnie Lewis for George Chatterton, who leads the field as they make their way along the far side of the course from Mr. Love to Write It Down, Duke Arcadio, and then the Della Checkout and In Arrears very close together at the back of the field, but not a huge distance between first and last at this point. So all safely over the next. Still Vinnie Lewis is going to lead them out of sight as they swing right-handed behind the hedge in this Everedge Mixed Open. And as they swing right-handed, coming back into our view, it's still Vinnie Lewis from Mr. Love, Duke Arcadio in the middle between Mr. Love and Write It Down, and then back behind them the Della Checkout and In Arrears. So the 6-strong field making their way on now towards what will be 2 from home in another 2 circuits time, and it's still going to be Vinnie Lewis who's going to lead them into the wings of that. Vinnie Lewis by a length from Mr. Love, Duke Arcadio, and then Write It Down on the outer in the black and white colours, and then back to the Della Checkout and In Arrears in the purple. So all of them safely over what will be the final fence in another 2 circuits time, making their way past the judge, and it's Vinnie Lewis who leads by a length and a half from Duke Arcadio and Mr. Love. Mr. Love on the inner, Duke Arcadio on the outer, then Write It Down, the Della Checkout in the brown, yellow and the red cap on the inner, and then In Arrears is just currently the back marker of the field as they swing right-handed and climb a bit of a bank at the left-hand side of the course. So as they do that, still going on is Vinnie Lewis and George Chatterton from Mr. Love and Murray Dodd coming on next, and then Duke Arcadio, and back behind them Write It Down, the Della Checkout. It's just 2 lengths clear of In Arrears, who's back marker at the moment. So coming to the ditch for the first of 2 occasions, and it's still Vinnie Lewis who continues to lead, leading now by 2.5 lengths to Mr. Love, who's a length and a half clear of Duke Arcadio, who's 3 lengths clear of Write It Down, a length ahead of the Della Checkout, and he's 4 lengths back then to In Arrears. So 6 of them continuing along the far side of the course, all safely over the next. It's still Vinnie Lewis who's got a length lead from Duke Arcadio. Mr. Love on the inner of Duke Arcadio coming up to take closer order a second, and then back to the Della Checkout for Amy Robinson. Write It Down on the outer of the Della Checkout, and then the back marker still In Arrears at this point as they jump fence number 10. So they disappear out of our sight with Vinnie Lewis continuing to lead. As they come back into view, Vinnie Lewis by a length from Mr. Love, who's half a length clear of Duke Arcadio on the outer, and they're 2 lengths clear of the Della Checkout, who's half a length clear of Write It Down, and still the back marker currently is just In Arrears for Sam Inskip. So they make their way back into the home straight towards what will be 2 from home next time round. And still Vinnie Lewis who leads by half a length from Mr. Love, Duke Arcadio on the outer, and then the Della Checkout and Write It Down, very little to call between those 2, and In Arrears is still just the back marker. So jumping what will be the final fence in another circuit's time, and it's still Vinnie Lewis who leads, not been had since flagfall. He's a length and a half clear of Mr. Love, who's a length and a half clear of Duke Arcadio, who's a length and a half clear of the Della Checkout, with Write It Down on the outer of the Della Checkout, and then they're 6 lengths clear of In Arrears, who's continuing to be the back marker and just receives a couple of reminders after jumping that next fence. So swinging right-handed now, over the bit of a bank, and Vinnie Lewis continues to lead this Everedge mixed open race. Not been headed yet since the start. He's a length clear of Mr. Love. They're 7 or 8 lengths clear of Duke Arcadio, who's 3 lengths ahead of Write It Down. And on the inner of Write It Down is the Della Checkout, and then back to In Arrears, who's currently the back marker. So to the ditch, Vinnie Lewis leads Mr. Love over the ditch. Then comes Duke Arcadio, Write It Down, the Della Checkout, and In Arrears. So the leading 2 now, Vinnie Lewis and Mr. Love, have opened up a 10-length lead from Duke Arcadio. And those 2 go on. All the rest of them safely over the next on the far side. The leading 2 going on. Mr. Love has jumped to the 4 over that next fence. Mr. Love has jumped to the front from Vinnie Lewis, and then back to Duke Arcadio. Write It Down comes next. It looks like In Arrears is being pulled up, and the Della Checkout is pulled up. So the remaining 4 making their way onto the far side of the course, and the last on the far side of the course, and it's Mr. Love who's going to lead them out of our sight from Vinnie Lewis, then Duke Arcadio, and Write It Down, the back marker of the 4. So coming back into view is Mr. Love, who's opened up a 7 or 8 length advantage over Vinnie Lewis, who's 10 lengths clear of Duke Arcadio, who's a length and a half clear of Write It Down, who's the back marker at the moment. So swinging into the home straight and coming towards the final 2 fences in this Everedge mixed open race, and as they come towards that one, it's going to be Mr. Love who's going to lead them to it for Murray Dodd. So coming to it, Murray Dodd and Mr. Love safely over that one. Next to it is Duke Arcadio and Write It Down, very little to call between them. Coming then towards the final fence, as they come to the wings of the final fence, it's going to be Mr. Love and Murray Dodd who are going to come over that one first. Mr. Love and Murray Dodd coming down to take the Everedge mixed open race. Then back behind them comes Write It Down for Sam Morrill. They're coming in second, and then back behind them Duke Arcadio. And it would appear they are the only 3 finishers, as Vinnie Lewis has pulled up before jumping the final fence.